Cam, what part in YouTube, Brandon? But Cam, with you being in the news for this right now, what part of it do you think the criticism against your opinions has to do with like just us as media members being
Yeah.
scared you're gonna take our jobs?
Nah, it's really not even that. I think, as a culture, as a race, we've always been, oh, nah, I can't really be me. It's almost like our black card can't show too much because we fear the sponsorships. We fear our job stability. We fear a lot of different things where, we should always speak our minds and respectfully to our neighbor as much as we possibly can. And there gets a point in corporate where it only could be one of us, you know what I'm saying? When it should be all of us, that thinks and moves that way. And I'm not against, anyone. I'm just more or less promoting the value of knowing your worth, understanding who you are and what you bring to the table too. So if you are able to do that, and I'm a person who's extremely aware of who I am and this awakening of like, yo, I'm getting into this media space. I don't necessarily need, certain people in a way. Of course, would you like sponsorships? Yes. So of course, would you like for people to buy in into your vision? Yes. I'm not saying none of that, but I think the audience and the community that you build from the consumer who takes and is a fan of your content, you have to be, it's easier for you to be yourself and accept it rather than something that you're not and still trying to get accepted.
I want to add to that. You asked, are they? You say the media, the journalists, are they? Are they scared? Let's get into it.
I want to get into it, like just straight up. So, like for Black people,
Right.
in particular, Black journalists, how many Black journalists you know right now on ESPN, NFL Network that didn't play or coach?
Yeah, there's a few.
Name them.
Well, I mean, you talking about like the Stephen A's of the world?
Stephen A. and who else?
You talking about Black journalists?
Black.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
What?
who didn't play sports.
Well, but this is
who didn't play professionally or coach.
Yeah, but that's not even. I think to what Cam is saying. I think people should be nervous, but be nervous for the right reasons. Now we have our own platforms where we can distribute our content. And so when you think about what's in right now, this is new media. This is a whole new lane, a whole new movement. People want real. People want authenticity. That's what they want. They want you to be organic. They want you to be vulnerable, peel back the layers. You can't do that on certain platforms, traditional linear approach, right? So when you think about us being able to do that and keeping it real and having access to the top athletes, the top artists, the top influencers, there's a huge threat. And and for real, the threat really isn't, Cam or myself or all the smokes of the world to the journalists and the other commentators on those platforms. It's the networks. People rather go on Funky Friday before they go on Good Morning America. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna get more reach.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a better conversation, right, and I'm protected.
Right.
So it's a whole thing happening right now.
I remember saying, my bad, Cam. Like coming out of school, right? So I'm looking at local news outlets and stuff like that. I'm like, man, everybody my age does not have cable subscription. Everybody's watching YouTube, and now the kids are watching Kai Cenat versus Nickelodeon versus Disney.
Yeah.
It's a whole new thing, and you guys are leading that way for sports consumption and culture consumption as well. I'll let you go, Cam.
Well, I think you have to be very mindful and not to discredit the female approach or the female stance in the sports space as well. Now, when you ask the question, who have done it, who's played the sport, who's did this, I'm looking at some dope females who are killing it and have been killing it for years that obviously didn't play football, but that's still, and I've learned this the hard way, by not giving them the credit that they deserve. So
salute to you for that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I wrote about that and people attacked me about that. I got called gay for that. Yeah. They're like, the writer must be gay. I'm like, bro, I was just calling out. You just called.
No, but I learned something right there. I learned something from, I'm in the midst of my chief of staff being a female, partnering with a executive producer, and Kristen, who has taught me, hey, yo, hold on. No, that's not gonna sound right. But that's not to say a lot of people who come from this alpha male uh dominated industry can become mute to the understanding of where we are still in this world, right? So dare I discredit, any person who hasn't played the game to be able to speak on sports, because when I look at it, the broader spectrum is that if you say that that's an issue, what are you saying to the female reporters who are covering this game, right? But all in all, I'll give you something different too, where never mind who hasn't played. Name me a person that's on TV right now, local or across the whole media spectrum that is on major networks that has long hair, dreadlocks.
Uh, ESPN has one. Martez Spearman, I believe is his last name,
Okay.
but his name is Martez. He's new.
Yeah.
When he got hired on
Yeah.
ESPN before the pandemic, he had the buzz.
Of course.
So it's a
So
shortcut.
so those things are something where I even have this conversation with the Steve Harveys of the world, who I just admire, as well as my father. My own dad was like, "Yo, Cam, tighten up now. You don't want to scare the man." And I'm like, "Pop, hold on. This is the strongest man I know." You know what I'm saying? And even then, he still falls victim to the degree of, whoa, that's too much. That's too much black. Hold on, bring that card a little back down into your no. But it's like we don't gotta be scared no more, you know. And I'm not sitting up here saying, use these explicit words or use this particular word and become. I'm speaking on be aware, right? Because it's more powerful for a black man to understand who he is and be true to who he is rather than a person that they can control and manipulate. And that's not the case in regards to me. It's not to sit up here and say, I don't want to do business with a person who is not black. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that person who is not black can make sure and understand by doing business with Cam Newton, I'm not going to alter my approach because I'm trying to empower my community all the while of empowering others as well too.
100%, 100%. Oh, go ahead, Marshall.
I want to add to the hair part. So in 2016 or 17, everybody knew I was about to be done towards the end of my career, and I already did some deals like Showtime and was working on some other networks. FS1 really liked me, and so a lot of people almost everybody wanted to sign me. And so FS1 reached out to my agent. Is like, well, what's Brandon's plans next year? He's like, yeah, he may come out, he may retire, so it's a conversation. And they asked me, said, will he cut his hair? Right now, for me, going back to his Super Bowl. So if I'll pull out some pictures of his Super Bowl, what year was that? 2015. That was my TV look in my mind. I had like a little short hair and I had a little part right here. I said, okay, when I'm done playing ball, it's my TV look. Boom, yeah, but come on. Okay, let's sit right here. Let's sit right here. Yeah. Okay. So boom, I had that look. Then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be comfortable. I'm gonna be me these last couple of years until I retire. And so I start growing out my hair. And when my agent, the reason why I have long hair now is because when he said that to my agent, I said, oh, I ain't cutting my hair, right? And so you fast forward to the pandemic, I actually still went on. I had dreads. But it still affects us to this day, right? 100%. And I think that's when I hear Cam talk about it, it's like, yo, you got to show up as yourself in all of these rooms, especially on television. That's what people want. You got to think about our culture leads everything. Hip hop is the #1 genre in the world. We show up and lead in fashion, in food, in every area. Now it's time for us to just own it and be comfortable in that.
No, I think to this point, and to the person that doesn't understand, they say, well, Cam, you're doing too much, or Cam, he's cocky, he's brash, he's bold, yeah, all those things. But I've taught myself not to cower in the room, not to come with the shrug shoulders or hunch back. It's more or less like, bro, my chest is up high. You see, because that's what I was taught. And I had to believe in myself first going into these corporate meetings, because if I don't believe in myself, how can I ever prove to somebody else to believe in me. So I had to be stronger. I had to be mentally tougher. And there's going to be trying times where you're going to get the looks like, does he always dress like this? Does he always look like this? And I just want to touch your hair. Like, those things, people are so naive, insensitive to certain things that it may come off a certain type of way. Like, why does he blah, blah, blah? I've been used to that for such a long time that now I don't care about the sponsors. I don't care about, organizations. And I've always stood on this premise about I'm not for everybody. Right. And you're not for everybody too. I'm not just sitting up here, walking around and saying, man, accept me for who I am. It's like, no, be curious to know more about me, and I will prove to you that your narrative is wrong. That's all I ask for.
100%.